Hello and welcome to Money Matters. Hong Kong's fifth wave of COVID is seeing record-breaking numbers of cases daily. Its COVID-related death rate is one of the highest in the world. The government has once again implemented tight social distancing rules, and businesses are struggling to stay alive while multinationals are seeing their employees leave Hong Kong at a faster rate than ever. The question is, how long must they hold out until they can go back to some semblance of normalcy? Hong Kong recorded a net outflow of over 71,000 people in February alone. Strict social distancing rules and cases of parents being separated from children has seen the U.S. consulate issue a level 4 travel advisory, warning Americans not to travel to Hong Kong. Tara Joseph, president of the American Chamber of Commerce, says members are considering leaving either temporarily or permanently.
For those with children, they're very invested, both financially, but mostly in terms of building a future for their children in the education of their kids. And the last few years have proven very, very difficult. And wondering when this is going to end adds to a lot of stress. And so some people are really putting that front and center of their decision making.
Since 2020, Hong Kong has had some of the strictest quarantine measures for arrivals. As the rest of the world starts to open up and live with COVID, Hong Kong continues to seal itself off from the rest of the world, pushing its zero COVID policy. And now a mass testing looms over its residents.
We've already had long-term pain. If there is short-term severe pain, there needs to be a sense of what is the light at the end of the tunnel? What are we trying to achieve? And how will we get back to business? Because Hong Kong at some point really needs to get back to business to be a premier financial center globally.
And Hong Kong's local businesses continue to struggle. Government statistics show the unemployment rate increased to 6.2% from November to January this year. But Simon Wong, chairman of the Hong Kong Federation of Restaurants and Related Trades, says this doesn't reflect the real picture, since restrictions were put in place on January 7th and won't be loosened until April 20, if the government sticks to that schedule and doesn't extend it again.
In the past couple of weeks, already there are about 2,000 restaurants have been temporarily closing. And probably there are more than 300 restaurants have already closed down permanently. The staff in the catering industry will be losing their job. I estimated there will be about 30 to 35,000 staff. They would have to be out of work.
He says that from now until the end of April, 5,000 more restaurants will be temporarily closing. He added that in January, the catering industry lost $4 billion, which represents 40% of their business for the whole month. February was even worse.
Starting from February, we are facing the worst time in the history for the catering industry. We are losing almost 200 million in business per day in February. So for the whole month, we are going to lose about 7 billion Hong Kong dollars. And I'm afraid that it all comes because of the new restrictive measures imposed by the government.
The restricted hours of 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. have put a number of restaurants out of business, both last year and again this year.
I don't think it's logical. The pandemic will not go away after 6 p.m. And I actually have suggested to the government only people who got 2 jabs or 2 vaccinations can go to the premises. Then they should be able to go to dine in restaurants until 8 p.m.
The government has rolled out a $170 billion budget to fight COVID and support businesses. Paul Ho of EY is confident Hong Kong can get back on track with this.
The government has actually already introduced a temporary unemployment relief under the anti-epidemic funds to provide a one-off $10,000 relief to those lower to middle income full-time or part-time workers who lost their job since the fifth wave of the pandemic.
Simon says this 6-month subsidy helps, but doesn't actually get the unemployed out of their predicament.
We are trying to lobby the government to roll out the employment support scheme. This would help us to go through this difficult time, especially to help the employment, because the employee is our asset. If we lose them, we would find hard to get them back.
The scheme allows employers to retain their staff and continue paying them. Instead, the government introduced a catering subsidy.
That would help a little bit, only barely enough to help them to pay for the first month rent. But they're not able to, pay the other expenses, for example, the salaries for the staff and also payment to the suppliers.
A rental moratorium of up to half a year was also introduced, prohibiting landlords from terminating the tenancy of companies for failing to pay rent on time or taking legal action against them. The 100% loan guarantee scheme for SMEs was increased from 18 to 27 months, with the loan ceiling raised from $6 million to $9 million, and the maximum repayment period extended to 10 years.
We also asked the government to delay the repayment of the loan to the bank, only paying the interest instead of the principal for 36 months. But the secretary only allowed the extension for 6 months. Then it's a huge amount of money. And if their business didn't come back, then they will face another crisis.
While Simon hopes the sector will recover once the pandemic ends, Tara says that during this prolonged period of uncertainty, there is a brain drain.
The biggest danger for Hong Kong at this moment, which will be hard to regain in the long term, is its loss of talent, its loss of overseas executives, its loss of talented Hong Kongers who make up a very large portion of management in Hong Kong. Many of those people have left or are considering leaving. And it's hard to get talent back once it leaves. So that is a real risk that Hong Kong is taking.
What businesses, local and international, are asking for is a clear roadmap from the government so they can plan.
Actually, very hard for us to open our business, to do normal business, and even we are not able to estimate how much food stuff we are going to purchase from our suppliers and how many employees we are going to hire.
Businesses need to plan in order to be able to put forward a strategy, to invest, and also prepare for the future. And with no set KPIs or plan or transparency about what the end game is, it makes it very difficult for people to plan. And that's the same for people personally. They've waited and watched and hoped things would turn around, and now they're finding themselves back where one, and it's very, very frustrating.
For now, the tunnel remains dark, and those in it are holding out for the light if they can't catch a flight out.